Well, there's always something being talked about on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and you are the ones who really do a lot of the talking. Quite frankly, that's the way we have set the show up. We call it Take Two because we want your takes, your experiences, your comments, your wisdom, your insights on the things that are part of our everyday lives. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgianni, and the phone number is 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396. What in the world has happened to common courtesy? That is what we're talking about today, and that's what we want people to weigh in on, Debbie. We want their thoughts, their takes on that.
Yeah, we need your life experience on this. What has happened in this world to common courtesy? Now, maybe you experience courteous behavior, good behavior on a regular basis, and that's wonderful. We'd like to hear about that as well. But for the most part, we want to hear about the fact that folks are just kind of overlooking it, kind of going through life unconscious in a way and not even practicing the wonderful, great mannerisms that make us, just good people in the world, courteous people in the world. So let's talk about it. And it does weave into our spirituality. It does directly relate to our spirituality. So if you're wondering, why are they coming up with these topics and how is this Catholic? Well, it is. 1-800-585-9396. Jerry, you've worked with me long enough to know, am I like the queen of please and thank you?
You are, Debbie. You are very, very courteous. I want to be quick to say that.
Thank
and that's a beautiful trait about you. And Marty, too. Your husband, Marty, is very, very courteous. And I know people appreciate this, but sometimes it actually, I think in today's world, Debbie, it can surprise people. It catches people off guard. The other day, and this is, I'm sure, just more than anything, my pride coming out. I'm very prideful and selfish and all, but I was just a stride or two behind another gentleman going into the gym. And you just assume that he's going to hold the door for you. So I wasn't really ready, and he just let the door fly shut, and I almost broke my, almost smashed my head open on the door, and I thought, gee, thanks, and it just makes me wonder. I didn't get angry at him or anything, but I thought, what's happened in our culture that we can't, just glance behind us? Is there somebody behind? I do that all the time, right, just as a rule, and normally there isn't somebody behind me, but I just want to make sure that I'm not, letting the door fly. There's so many examples here. Checking up on an elderly or infirm neighbor, like you said, saying please and thank you, holding the door for someone, giving up your seat on a bus. These were things that were done with great regularity and very promptly, Debbie, a generation or two or three ago. Has some of that been lost? That's what I want to hear from our listeners about.
Jerry, let me ask you this. How much do you think it's intentional? Like, for instance, that guy coming out of the gym. Do you think it was intentional, or do you think he's just kind of zoning out, unconscious? I mean, how much of you, what do you think? What's your gut?
I don't know. There's no way I can, be inside his head or his mind or his heart or whatever. I think it's just, I think that we don't get trained or formed in this sort of way of living as much anymore. So it's not automatic, I guess is what I'm saying. It was so automatic, so many years ago, and I just don't think it's automatically on the minds of people today. I mean, I suppose if he had seen me, he certainly would have held the door. It wasn't, it wasn't a intentional act to disrespect me or anything, but. So anyway, but like I said, it was probably much more my own pride getting in the way.
Yeah. Well, no, but no, no, I don't. No, I was just saying, like that's a continuation of the sentence. I wasn't affirming what you were saying. But anyway, Jerry, let me ask you this question. Do you think it's wise for parents to instill and teach to their children at a small age, at a young age, I should say, to have those common, courtesy, different, responses and stuff like that? For instance, I did that with my boys. I constantly would remind them, to say please and thank you. And because of that, they've adopted that their whole entire life. They are adults now, and they still very much say please and thank you. And people notice that. So, I mean, don't you think there has to be on our part too, to encourage that and support that as well?
Oh, by all means. Yeah. And see, we all know that kids are beautiful, they're huggable, they're lovable, but they have the same human nature that we all do. So things have to be formed within them: the virtues, character qualities, manners, courtesy, things like that. If, for example, when one child is playing with a toy and another child wants that toy, what are they going to do? They're just going to go and take it from them. How many families have seen that? And so that's a lesson right there. You have to teach those children, hey, common courtesy. When Billy's done playing with it, Susie, you can play with it, or
right.
Helping clear each other's dishes off the table or something. So yeah, I think it really should start at a young age.
I'm chuckling, Jerry, because there's many times that my friends used to have to leave play groups because their kids would be grabbing the toys and just having an off day, and they're like, okay, it's time for us to go home and take a nap. And there was so many times that friends had to leave play groups because of that. But that's so true, because when they see something, they want it. And so part of developing us as human beings, and more so as Catholic Christians, we need to develop those virtues. I mean, we're on a path to holiness, right? We're saints in training, right? Well, then this is all part of it. So we want to hear from you. Phone lines are lighting up. That's great. There is one open phone line, and guess what? I think it has your name on it. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to call. You'll be put on hold by Matt Gabinski. You'll get to listen live. You won't miss a thing on the show, and you can jump right in and add to this discussion. This is your show, Take Two, with Jerry and Debbie, and we feel so excited that you're with us for this entire hour. Don't leave us. Stay tuned in, because this definitely will impact your spirituality. We'll be right back.
Mother Angelica.
We have to get back into our hearts and minds the value of life. If you don't care about the unborn, I don't think you're going to care about the elderly.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Father Larry Richards.
God doesn't need you to sit there and protect him. If you receive communion unworthily, it says you could be sick or die. But we don't have to protect Almighty God. So God can protect himself. So he knows that man's heart. And if he's not in a state of grace, that communion can become the bread of death to him. You don't need to do that. God can take care of himself.
Open Line with Father Larry Richards. Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Be touched by the sacredness of the Most Blessed Sacrament, the resting place of Mother Angelica Plus Tour the EWTN campus. Start your Catholic pilgrimage today with EWTN. Call 205-271-2966.
The reason for our hope with Father Larry Richards.
The talents that God has given you, have you multiplied them? Have you used them for His glory or for your glory? Have you used the gifts of the God of the universe for Him? Have you multiplied those gifts, or have you buried them? Life isn't over yet. If you haven't been using them, it's time. Make a decision that not one of those gifts are wasted, that you use them and you multiply them, because that's what's important, huh? Have you been a man of love? Do your wife and children know that you love them? Do you tell them that? Do they look at you and they look in your eyes? What do they see when they look in your eyes? What do they see? Do they see a man of love? Do they see a man of love? Because again, as St. John the Cross said, in the end, we will be judged in love.
Always good to have you with us, and you really to speak to each other and edify and bless each other. And Debbie and I we have one of the coolest opportunities in the world every single day, and that is we get to hear from you, and you get to help form us to be better people. So thank you for participating in Take Two with Jerry and Debbie as we talk today about common courtesy. And has it gone by the wayside, or is it still around and still pretty strong and healthy? Before we go to the calls, Debbie, we did get a prayer intention sent in from Lori in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And dear Take Two family, listen up. Here we go. Something for us to pray about. Lori says, please pray for a family whose house burned down last night.
No.
Yeah, she says they were already having serious marital problems. and now their house is burned down. So, dear Take Two family, let us storm heaven. Debbie, as you always say, we are nothing if we're not prayer warriors. Not that we're holy or spiritual or anything, but we know that we worship a God who answers prayers. So let's take that one to him in prayer.
And may I just share something on a personal note real quickly? Talking about the power of prayer. I can't really stress it enough and can't really go into detail during the show because it wouldn't be appropriate. But I just wanted to say that to everyone on the Take Two family that has been praying for my personal family intentions, we experienced a very big miracle this morning. And I'm not going to get emotional. I'm going to try not to because I've been already crying all morning. But God is great, and thank you. Thank you for the prayers. Please keep them up. Please, I'm begging you. And also, when you just heard this prayer intention for this family that just lost their home, see, we must rally in prayer. We must join together. That's our strength. That's our weapon. Padre Pio talks about it, and it really helps us to join together. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's ramp up the prayers and storm heaven for all the Take Two family intentions.
Yeah, and know that we always have you and your intentions lifted up in our prayers every day. Don is near Buffalo, New York, and Don, you're going to be first today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Don, welcome. We are glad that you were with us.
Hi, I'm so surprised I'm on first. Oh, wait a minute. Whatever, but good to talk to you folks again. Yeah,
well, likewise.
I just going to comment about the power of prayer, too. Yeah, that's always a wonderful thing. I try to remember everybody when you hear stuff like what happened with you or your relation, Debbie, and wherever else it happens to come up and see stuff on the news. Although I try to catch the religious side too with the just before the program comes on when they talk about the headlines or whatever else. But yeah. But anyway, as far as common courtesy, I've seen it diminish over the years, and I think you folks can probably testify to it too. It seems to be basically, I think, more in like the big box stores. I mean, they, you check out and everything else, and okay, have a nice day. There's not really a thank you or something because you are shopping at the store. I don't know if it's maybe I don't know if it's corporate way or whatever. But it just seems like they would be trained to do something like that, and just the more or less to say that you're, that you shop there. It's not so much for the private stores, like if you go to a antique shop like I like to go to, or, that kind of stuff. It's more like I comment to them, okay, hey, you got a great store. I enjoy coming. I'll definitely come back. And they say thank you, and I say goodbye and thank you. And if I buy something or else, they probably will say thank you. I just observe the antique stuff more than anything. Maybe buy them on occasion sometime, but we'll see what takes place down the road. But I think overall, I think it seems to be you get the younger people, I think, do say thank you, but I see it more there in the younger compared to, for our, in our generation, but I don't know. It's just not like it used to be. Just like you say, you like to have things stay the same, but they don't when it comes to something like this,
Right. Well, Don, yeah, you're raising a lot of good. You raise a lot of good points, and I think the main thing that I'm hearing you say it is not the same, and things are always going to change, and it certainly doesn't mean it can't change back. We often hear the church, for example, described as like this big ship. Once you turn the rudder, and get that change of direction started, it's going to take a while, and I think, Debbie, in our own culture as well, we really have to be the ones who lead by example, not to say, Pharisaical, like look at me and aren't I courteous and nice and all of this stuff, but we just have to show by example, and then of course, as we were talking earlier, make sure it's instilled in our kids. And there's no reason why a cultural shift can't change back toward more common courtesy.
I couldn't agree more, Jerry. But here's the other thing too. I think we have to have some genuine intent behind it, because like Don was saying, people will say, "Hey, thanks for shopping here." They have those common courtesies, those pleasantries that we exchange. But do you really mean what you're saying behind it? So to take that, to have that intentional time to maybe make eye contact, to really look like you care for that other human being. See, that was my New Jersey that came out. I said human instead of human.
Human. It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the New Jerseyism. But it's true though, Jerry. I think we have to have that commitment and make that effort. Don, you made some great points. I really love your aspect on this, and I think it helps us all to just really be in the moment and be aware that we are connecting with other souls. That's important.
Thanks, Don, for the call. Appreciate that. Join us again here anytime, as you have done in the past. And just real quickly, too, he made the comment between sometimes a larger organization. He said box stores versus maybe a smaller, maybe family-owned store. Debbie, there's this product that I buy online, and I know it's kind of a ma-and-pa operation. And every time my order arrives, there's a personalized card in there. Jerry, thank you again for your order. And they put,
Really?
a little free item in there for me, too. And,
Nice.
this is the kind of, it's customer service, but it's also courtesy. And that keeps me going back. Believe me, I feel good about doing business with them because they obviously care. And,
Right.
and it's a care beyond just making money off of me. So, because it's time. They put time into it. So.
Well,
Okay.
and also speaking about time, Jerry, I'm not trying to brag about this, but I've really made an effort in the past couple of years that when I work with anybody on the phone for customer service, and I find that they just really do an exceptional job, I will take the time, and it takes about a minute or two longer on the call. And I know sometimes we wait a lot of time on calls to get in on customer service, but I will speak to their supervisor and just share. And I do that because I worked customer service. It's tough. It's really tough, and you're putting it out there, putting the energy out there, and people just say, hey, thanks, have a great day. But if somebody makes that extra effort, it really makes a difference, and it could change their their forward movement in their work growth. And I think that's important. So I would encourage others to take that time. Takes, that extra 1 or 2 minutes, Jerry, can make all the difference in the world for somebody else.
Could change a life, yeah. All right, Danny is in Vienna, Virginia, listening on Guadalupe Radio. Danny, we're going to go to you next here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Great. So good that you called.
Thank you for having me. I just wanted to share some thoughts because I've seen this in my life. I have a son, and we were at like a fair type thing with different booths. And every time we would go up to one, they'd have like these little toys for kids. And, Peter, my son, would get to take one. And I was always like, what do you say? And he would be like, thank you. And this one woman said, I have to tell you, all day long, he is the first one to say, thank you. And I was just like, wow. I was glad we went by, so she got to hear one say thank you.
Right.
But it's also something that is constantly worked on. And it takes an effort to be cognizant of it. And we're so busy today, and we're trying to be so efficient and do so many things at one time. And we're always, looking at our phones and trying to get things done that I do think we've lost one another. And not completely, not everyone. I do think there may be some cultural components in different parts of the country that, it's worked on more. But it's definitely different than it used to be.
Yeah. Danny, I have to say, I think you're a fabulous mom. I think that's awesome. And I think you said your son's name is Peter. Well, your little rock there, your little rock there was showing some consistent, virtuous mannerisms. I think that's wonderful. And it's got to make you proud when other parents and other adults notice that. I mean, your child shines at that point. And also, too, I think they... when they show that kind of great courteous behavior, and it's responded to in a positive way, it builds their self-esteem. It builds their confidence. It allows them to feel like they're empowered, because they said something and made a difference. I think it's awesome, Danny, and I agree with you. It takes an effort for parents to do that. What do you think, Jer? Wouldn't you agree with that?
I could not agree more. Yeah, and I think a part of this, as I think I alluded to earlier, is it's innately wired into us, but just because of human nature and concupiscence and all of that, which is in us from the youngest of ages, it has to be reinforced and trained and formed and worked on. Debbie, you always say, what do you say? Practice makes permanent, right? So. If we get our kids to practice these things, it's going to be second nature. They won't even think about these things as they go through life.
Yep. Practice makes permanent. I love that. Thank you, Danny. God bless you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and give Peter a hug from us. Okay. Is this our Matthew calling? I think it
Matthew
is,
is next, yeah.
It's our Matthew from Seattle, Washington, listening on Sacred Heart Radio. Hi, Matthew. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hey, good afternoon, Jerry and Debbie. How y'all doing?
Good,
Hi,
Matthew.
sweetheart. How are
Great
you?
to hear from you again.
Good. Thanks for taking my call. So this is a topic I think I recommended maybe last March was common courtesy at Costco, like the huge bulk grocery store. I don't know. Every so often, my wife and I go into Costco, but we always have a little bit of fear and trepidation before we go in there, just because sometimes it's a little bit of bumper carts and whatnot, and people not being the nicest to each other. But I don't know. Before we go in there, usually just put a smile on our faces, put a little prayer up, and try and show joy to other people in there, even if they're not necessarily the nicest. I don't know what y'all's experiences at Costco or similar grocery chains, but that's just kind of what I wanted to throw in there and just to say hi to you guys.
Well, Matthew, we're glad that you called, and I'm smiling ear to ear as you're talking throughout your whole comments there for a couple of reasons. One, before the show today, I made my shopping list for Costco, which I'm going to do after I go swimming today. And you're right. I actually have to, I pray before I go there because it can be just so crowded. And like you said, the bumper cars and people throwing elbows to get the samples. And me, I just want to get in and get out, you know. And so it could be a really stressful experience. And this is not a knock on Costco. I love Costco. I call it my pilgrimage. You know, I make my pilgrimage to Costco at least once a week. So it's not any knock on them. It's just simply it's in their favor that they're doing so well as a business, and they're so popular, and they do serve people's needs in so many different ways that they get that kind of business. And I don't know, this time of year where I live, Southern California, kind of near in the Coachella Valley, it's a lot of, you know, snowbirds and stuff. And so during the summertime, I can get in and get out of there in about 10 minutes. This time of year, a 10-minute trip turns into about 45 minutes, you know, so it just kind of adds to that. But Debbie, I don't know if you've got any comments on what Matthew's saying.
I do, Matthew. I share the same experience when I go to these places that just have things in great bulk. And I think that it's just an overwhelming experience. I find myself, first of all, the carts are extremely huge. They're just gigantic. Okay. And Matthew,
for a reason.
Yeah, for a reason. And Matthew, I'm always looking around and looking up and looking down and looking and trying to scan the whole place. And quite honestly, I have bumped into so many people and I don't even realize it. And so I think it's just that massive, overwhelming kind of, there's so much happening and so much to look at, and it's just overwhelming. At least it is for me, Matthew, and I don't know if that is for others, but I have to really prepare myself before I go into places like that I'm kind of in that, I don't know, mob mentality, I guess. I don't know. You know what I'm saying, Matthew? It's kind of this weird experience, different from a mom and pop grocery store, you know?
Yeah, but to put it in perspective, I guess it's a first world problem, and thanks to God we don't face some of the problems that the rest of the world, especially those persecuted for their faith over in the Middle East.
Well, and you make a great point there, Matthew. We always have to keep these things in perspective, because the same image could be transferred to, say, a group of people who are a mob who are bumping into each other and fighting for position to get a bowl of rice, you know, for dinner or something like that. So, Matthew, you have just really brought this thing into a beautiful perspective for me, anyway. And I find myself. We did a show on that, Matthew. I don't know if you heard about it. Remember the show we did, Debbie? You know, we asked people, "What's your first world problem?" And That's so much the truth, and I'm guilty, as guilty as anyone. You know, my little inconveniences and pet peeves, I have to catch myself thinking, wait a minute, Jerry, come on, are you kidding me? You know, so.
Right. Matthew, we just love when you call. Say hi to the family, and thank you so much. If you got any more suggestions for future topics, don't forget to email us. We'd love to hear from you, okay?
Thanks, guys. God bless.
All right, God bless you, Matthew. Lori in Livonia, Michigan, listening on Ave Maria Radio. Lori, we've got a little bit of a pause coming up here in less than 2 minutes. We can hold you over if we have to, but we wanted to get started. Hi, Lori. Welcome.
Hi. I had a good experience with my nieces. I took them to see the Nutcracker Ballet at Christmas time, and there were little boys with their mother and little girls sitting in back of us. The whole ballet, this little boy kicked my feet constantly. I turn around and give him the look, which my mother used to give me, and it would freeze my blood, But it stopped him for about 10 seconds, and he started up again. Mom was busy talking to the people she was sitting with about 4 seats down, so she was no use, and this went on for the whole ballet.
Wow.
Kind of ruined the thing for me. Yeah. So that's my experience.
Well, you're much better than I am, Lori, because you gave the look, and I thought that's kind, and you kind of grinned and bared it. But I've had that happen to me at movie theaters, and I just, it's one of my pet peeves. I can't help it. I just turn around and I say, "Excuse me, can you stop kicking my seat because I'm getting motion sickness," which I normally do. So I think Lori's a much better person than I am, Jerry. I can't handle that. I don't know why.
I don't have a good time with that either, like on airplanes and so forth. But there's much I could say about that, Lori, and it would center sometimes on the parents, but I'll save that for another time. And Lori, thank you so much for the call from Livonia, Michigan. Thanks for your listenership and support of Ave Maria Radio. Deborah, you're next. Michelle, Diana, Lucille, a lot of you to get to. Stay with us.
Renew your faith, renew your spirit, and receive the most precious gift of time with our Lord. Stand Tall, an unforgettable retreat, is coming to the St. Bernard Abbey in Cullman, Alabama, February 9th through 11th. Join Take Two's own Jerry Usher and Debbie Georgianni for a spirit-filled weekend, including a visit to the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament, Mass with the Benedictine monks, an evening campfire celebration, and talks by Jerry and Debbie. Space is limited, so register today at jerryanddebbie.com.
Hi, this is Bookmark Brief, and I'm Doug Keck, and our author is Joseph Pierce, and the book is Monahan, A Life. So tell us, how did you end up writing this biography about Tom Monahan?
Well, Tom Monahan will be known to many EWTN viewers as the founder of Ave Maria University. Prior to that, the founder of Domino's Pizza, the former owner of the Detroit Tigers. But also, I had a relationship with Tom Monahan insofar as I was on the faculty of Ave Maria University, of which he was the owner, for 11 years. And he approached me to ask me to write this life of him. And at first, I was not that keen on the idea, but very pleased that I wrote the book, and I think it does tell Tom's story. It's certainly not sugar-coated.
An interesting story worth the read. Thank you so much. Talking about the book Monahan, A Life, written by Joseph Pierce, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. EWTNRC.com is the place to go for all things Catholic. I'm Doug Keck. See you next time.
We need Catholic radio because we need the voice of the church in the public forum. We live in a time that the secular voice dominates so thoroughly that we need to get that Catholic perspective out. Just as Fulton Sheen used radio and TV in the last century, we need to continue to use this means to announce the Catholic faith in the public forum.
Bishop Robert Barron thinks Catholic radio is important. So should you.
So glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking about common courtesy today, and we've got some great social media comments coming in on YouTube chats, Facebook chats. Wow. And you guys on Facebook and YouTube, you guys are awesome. What a great group. So I would encourage others to go on Facebook Live or YouTube and join the ongoing message boards that are going around, because you learn something. It's an additional conversation. It keeps the conversation going. Dave said on YouTube, he says, I think common courtesy is still prevalent in the world. It is problematic when you encounter either a selfish person or who is either not courteous or thankful. And Dustin said people forget about God by taking God out of everything. With that, you lose manners and common courtesy. I think political correctness has a lot to do about it today with the decline. Yes, Jerry, wouldn't you agree? Political correctness, I think that we've seen a decline in just really good behavior.
Yeah, I think political correctness has been toxic, it's been poison, and it has largely paralyzed us in a lot of different ways. So thank you, Dave and Dustin, and there are some other comments on social media that we will get to as well. But go back to the calls, Deb. Should we go to Deborah next? Deborah in Bismarck, North Dakota, listening on Real Presence Radio to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Deborah. Welcome.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm in Bismarck, North Dakota. And I just wanted to say that I really love listening to your show. I mean, there's so much that I get out of it. And here, what I've noticed is, well, first of all, my mom had 10 kids, and she raised us all to say please and thank you. And I work at a daycare with infants and 1-year-olds, and even 1-year-olds can learn how to say please and thank you. I mean, they don't say it perfectly, but and granted, it's so cute when they do it, you know. But by the same token, I've learned that they want to learn, and because they're at that age that everything is, they're learning and their brain is growing, and there's just so much that. But my mom brought us all up to say please and thank you, and I was thinking also by the same token, my one pet peeve is it just seems like it's so prevalent now nowadays when you go through a drive-through to get food or whatever, and it just seems like there's no please and thank you. And the only time I hear it is like if it's middle of the day and it's lunchtime or whatever, and the person that's on the speakerphone is an older lady who's working a part-time job. Well, she always says please and thank you, and I tell her that I appreciate that. But it just really irks me when you get to the window and they open the window, and not even necessarily in a cheery voice. They just say, whatever it is that $2.98, whatever it is that
right. They kind of bark it out. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and and the other reason that bugs me too is because my very first job back when I was 16 years old was at a drive-through, and we had to say please and thank you and be polite. And but I have to say, by the same token, one thing I've always noticed around here: 95% of the time, somebody holds the door for you.
Nice.
I mean, it's very rare up here that somebody doesn't hold the door for you.
Right.
Now maybe it's because I'm limping. I have a knee problem, but if somebody's walking in behind me, I hold the door until they get a hold of it. And people say thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And going through the grocery store, I mean, I go to the big box stores also. But I've noticed that if I get in somebody's way or they get in my way, excuse me, does come out.
Right.
So I guess it kind of depends on the situation. At least that's what it seems like. It's about the only place that just really you don't hear that please and thank you is going through the drive-through. It's just
Well, that's why they call it fast food. It's so fast. I mean, I think that's what.
You can say please and thank you.
I agree. I totally agree with you. But I think we get in this mode. It's just I think some of it can be unconscious. But Deborah, I totally agree with you. I love it when 1 and 2 year olds they have a difficult time pronouncing please, so they say peas, and it's so cute. And you just want to squeeze the little kid when they're doing it because it's adorable. So I agree with you. There's such a beauty about that and innocence. But Deborah, you said some nice, kind words about the show. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. I have to do this, and Jerry knows where I'm going with this just because I think it's hilarious. I have that quirky sense of humor. You said you were one of 10 kids. Anyway,
I'm number 5.
Number 5. Any way you can rattle off the 10 if I say go from oldest to youngest?
They all start with a D.
Okay, go.
Wow.
Daryl, Donna, Diane, Douglas, Deborah, Denise, Dean, Dory, Dale, Dellery.
See, your parents were smart. They named them all D's at least.
Well, yes and no, because I had, as I got older, I had the same problem as my mom. Did that,
Yeah.
And finally, my mother would get frustrated, and she'd say, you, and she'd point at whoever she's talking to.
Okay, that's hilarious.
That's hilarious, because my mom did the same thing.
And my dad's name is Dale. But my mother, we always teased her. We always said she was the odd one out because her first name was Marie, and so we'd say, but she didn't mind. And my oldest sister, when she had kids, all 4 of her kids start with D's also.
Well, it just keeps it simple, right?
Yeah, it does.
Well, Deborah, thank you. Bless you for the call. We really appreciate hearing from you. My mother did the same exact thing. My sister was Mary, and then it was Jerry, Joe, John, Jim. And so she would do the same thing. Jim, John, when one of us was acting up, or two or three of us, and then she would literally, she'd point, or she'd just go over and, grab you by the nape of the neck or something, and it was all over at that point. But she did kind of juggle the names when she was trying to get the right one.
Did your mom go to Catholic school?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to
because
that.
we used to have to write on the top of our papers JMJ. I wonder if that's where she got the so she had Mary and then the J's. That's very interesting.
Well, she couldn't have kids. She couldn't conceive for many years. And then so she prayed to St. Gerard. And so I was named Gerard, but I was second. So she gave the first one to our Blessed Mother, and then to St. Gerard, then to St. Joseph, and then John and James. So that was pretty cool.
I love it.
Anyway, people don't want to hear about that. We want to hear what you have to say about common courtesy. There's a line open, 1-800-585-9396. Following Deborah is Michelle in Salem, Oregon, the beautiful Willamette Valley, watching us on YouTube. Hi, Michelle. Good to have you watching us today. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Great. Thank you for calling.
Yes. So I just love this topic because just the other day there was a pro-choice, pro-life conversation happening online. And it got a bit heated, and I just posted something and very small, and it just gets a bunch of curse words and a bunch of anger, and it's just super intense right away. And I kept trying to just respond in a pretty just factual way, but finally I was like, and I responded to this one person in particular who was like, I don't think you're a bad person. I don't think you want all the children and babies to die. I don't think you hate children. But, I think, blah, 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 blah. And I kind of made my point after that. But I just kind of extended, I don't think you're a bad person. I'm not coming at you from that point of view. And they responded with, I don't think you. I don't think you're a bad person either. And it totally changed the conversation around. And she stopped cursing, and it kind of, eventually it ended pretty quickly. But then since then, I've used that same tactic really quickly in the conversation, and it either people just don't respond or it can change the way it's going. But it's just, that conversation in general gets so heated. But, for me, I just want points to get across. I want people to start thinking about what they're saying in that context, especially with the pro-life movement. I think people just, they don't really know a lot. They just are very emotion-based. And so I'm hoping that can help. But I think that is really important, especially online, because, it's easy to just get angry and respond without thinking, even though we should be able to, because we can take a moment to breathe and then type something different.
Well, Michelle, a couple of quick thoughts, and then I'll let Debbie weigh in on this. Just a couple things that come to my mind. First of all, you're talking about very highly charged discussion topics or things of conversation. Obviously, abortion and a lot of the moral issues really get people's passionate feelings riled up. So that's one thing. But also, as you know, on social media, it's easier, I should say, to maybe be less courteous or less kind or less charitable because, let's face it, we're hiding behind an avatar or a social media name or something. Not everybody has a pseudonym or doesn't put their picture up there, but even if you have your name and your picture up there, the other person can't get at you, and you can just really throw those barbs and those criticisms and be uncourteous. So Debbie, I don't know if either of those things sound on the mark to you.
Oh, absolutely. I think it is very easy. It's a great curtain to hide behind. And Michelle, but I think what you did to diffuse the situation and to, just respect that person and give them some dignity brings out the best. And I think that shows how you are with your spirituality, which I think is wonderful. So you're definitely a good person to have on those discussion boards online because you're one that's going to bring in your faith to it and be that person. I love that. I think we need more Michelles because I think there's been a lot of hurt feelings on these online discussions or arguments or chats or whatever you want to call them, and it's really hurt people's feelings. And Jerry, because people are hiding behind that curtain, it's very hard to go back and revisit it. So the wound is there, and it's raw, and it's dangerous, and that's the power, that's the sword of the tongues, which is written online. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, thank you. It's something that doesn't always come easy to me, for sure. Now that I'm getting older and having children, I definitely would have probably responded with a little bit more attitude in the past. But right. I think it's super important to just be kind, even when you don't want to be.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and see, that's we always say we tie our topics into our faith, and Michelle, you just did right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, any one of us could kind of fly off the handle or be critical or totally throw courtesy out the window, but by virtue of who we are trying to be in Christ, we want to treat others with respect and dignity. And sometimes that means biting your tongue, swallowing your pride. And it sounds like you've got a real good handle on all of those things, Michelle. So thank you. What a great contribution to the program today. We appreciate you calling and hope to hear from you again.
You definitely elevated, excuse me, you definitely elevated the show, Michelle. Thank you so much for that time. Okay, Jerry, can I just say something? Because I just want to bring this up because EWTN has all different ways that we can access information and watch the shows we want to and listen to the shows. And I just want to highlight the EWTN app because I think it's really phenomenal. And you can carry EWTN with you everywhere when you download the EWTN app. You can enjoy EWTN live TV and radio streams, audio and video on demand, EWTN news, program schedules, prayers, and devotionals. It goes on and on and on. So please get the app on your phone. You know, that's how we can use these smartphones to be spiritual phones. That's what we need. Download the EWTN app at EWTNapps.com.
I love that. Turn your smartphone into a spiritual phone. Mm-hmm. Did you make that up?
I just did.
Wow.
Was that good?
That was very good.
I was actually thinking, believe it or not, of Deacon Harold Brooks Sivers because when you look at his phone, he has, what does he have? The live stream of adoration. Mm-hmm. He has Mass. He has his breviary. He has, I mean, it goes on and on and on. And so I was actually thinking of Deacon Harold and how he's used his smartphone to really continue his formation.
All right, Lucille, we're going to get to you, but Diana got in just right in front of you. So, Lucille, don't go away. We can't wait to hear what you say. But Diana is in Indiana, listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie there. Hi, Diana. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say that I'm a retired teacher. I taught for 36 years, everything from fourth grade to seniors. And the teachers always focused on good manners, teaching children, please, thank you, you know, just treating people with dignity and respect. And it's still a focus. And yes, I saw as the years went on where I had to emphasize it more and more. So I think this is a very important topic. And I just wanted to call and say that.
Well, I know, Debbie, you will echo this. I want to thank you, Diana, for your, I think you said 36 years.
Yes.
You know, on the front lines, really. I've often thought, you know, would I have the makeup, would I have the constitution within me to be a teacher at any level? And I've done some of it, you know, in terms of religious education, not really in an academic, say, type of classroom, but it takes a special person, Diana, and you were obviously called to that. That was your vocation. And Debbie, I can only imagine as she and her colleagues poured their hearts and souls into this and emphasized good manners and character and virtue and courtesy. As these young people become adults, we all know, and we look back, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that look back and think of, you know, that teacher named Diana who helped to form them into the person they are today.
Well, and Diana, I'm sure as with your fellow teachers, when you were in the teacher's lounge, if you will, you probably knew that you were having an impact on the children. But if you look at even like, for instance, Oprah Winfrey, she talks about that one special teacher that changed her life. And I found myself doing the same thing. I looked back and there were so many teachers that had a profound impact on my spirituality. I went to Catholic school, but also my femininity as a woman. I had a really strong teacher who ended up dying in a car crash, but she was so wonderful and beautiful and virtuous and good and kind, and I wanted to be like her. And Diana, so thank you for dedicating your life's work to forming young minds and to be that example that we could all look up to. I agree with Jerry. I can't say it enough. Teachers, nurses, I know this may be trite to say, but I think there's going to be a special place in heaven for you guys. What do you think, Diana? Am I way off base?
I hope you're right.
You hope I'm right? Okay, I'll pray for that.
Okay. See, the other thing, besides just good manners across the board and treating people correctly, one thing that I always noticed, because the last 13 years I taught high school history, and the quote I always put on the board was, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing. That is something else that I stress my entire life on people, to stand up for others. And I think that's important too.
Yeah, indeed. Diana, all great points. Thank you. And once again, as Debbie said to a previous caller, you have elevated the conversation today, as all of you do. You're the ones who drive Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Have a wonderful day, Diana, and feel free to call us here on the program anytime. Real quick, Steve on Facebook says, I'm 68 and I hold the door for anyone, male or female. Good for you, Steve. And Tony on Facebook, I smile too, but these days, not many smile back. I also let customers go in front of me who have fewer items at the store. So thank you, Steve and Tony, for weighing in.
Can I say something about that, Jerry? Because that was Tony who said he smiles. And
Tony, T-O-N-I. It might be a she.
A female. Yeah. Okay. So, Tony, when you smile and they don't smile back, I just wanted to share what Tom Peterson from Catholics Come Home and Virtue Media, he does the same thing. He smiles, and he also will say to somebody, how's your day going? And they'll say, how, and then they, of course, the common courtesy back is, how are you? And Tom always says, I'm blessed. And as soon as he says, I'm blessed, it opens up this huge chance for a great spiritual moment. I just had to share that because I thought that was a great thing that Tom has adopted many years ago. And it's just a great evangelization resource, I think, for him as a tool to be out there and communicating with the world. So, Tony, keep smiling, even though people don't smile back, because they say a smile can change a person's heart. So.
All right. Lucille, thanks for waiting. You are, as promised, our next call in Fredericksburg, Texas. Another Guadalupe radio listener. Hi, Lucille. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, good morning or afternoon. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Well, I'm just so excited with the two folks that went, with Diana and Michelle. I think my comment was going to be about millennials. Funny enough, I took a class on hiring and managing millennials. And I don't believe in grouping people, into categories, but part of the class said that some of the things our young people struggle with is, the smartphone. They can just look up anything. If they have a question to anything, they can YouTube it, figure it out. They're not required to, go outside and meet other people and forge those relationships that maybe older generations did. So I think common courtesy a lot of the time gets lost on them, and it's maybe not that they're not kind or can't be courteous. They've just discovered different ways to solve their problems. But I do try to stress with my kids the same thing, like Michelle was saying, you got to be kind first. You can't expect somebody to come be kind to you. And what Diana was saying, where the quote she had about good men, doing nothing. That's how evil will triumph. And so, just an encouragement. And like your gentleman said on Facebook, or you said, encouraged him to keep smiling. So I love the topic. I think it's really pertinent, and you see it. I see it every day, but it doesn't dissuade me, from being kind and courteous myself, even if it's not returned or reciprocated.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we have to continue to be putting it out there. If we are going to be Christ in the world, we have to continue, even if we get resistance back, or we're ignored, or we're persecuted, because we have a mission as Catholic Christians, and we should keep that focus and keep moving forward. And that's what I think I love about Take Two and all the Take Two family, is because I think we're on that same path together, and we're trying really hard to get to heaven. And we can do that together if we go out there and be, Christian witnesses, Christian examples. And so thank you for that. I mean, you reminding us of that is so helpful. And that's what's great about it, Jerry, is that we, as a Take Two family, we learn from one another, but we're constantly raising each other up, affirming one another, supporting one another, and reminding one another to keep focused. I love it. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think it's great, and I think the fact that you're working with the millennials too has got to be very, very, inspiring for you. And you get to see the best come out in them, Lucille. I would imagine. Is that safe to say that when you really focus on these things, you get to see maybe a side of millennials that I don't know some other people might not get to see? Has that been your experience?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so easy to anybody can criticize and pick apart. It doesn't take much talent to destroy something. But, I always believe you. I mean, you have to look for the good because that's where the Holy Spirit's working in you. And
amen.
So many of our kids, they're good. They're kind-hearted. They're wonderful human beings. And yeah, it's a detriment to see them walking around with their phone in hand and their head down. But I would say just don't be too quick to judge. I think they got kind hearts.
I agree. I have 2 millennials for sons, and they're pretty great people. So I agree with you, Lucille. You're awesome. Thank you for doing that. And I'm sure them being around you, your joy is contagious, and your passion for them is as well. And I think that's important for their spiritual growth. So thank you for the work you're doing.
All right, we're going to get to Gabriella in Los Angeles, listening on the EWTN app. Gabriella, we have about 2 minutes, but we wanted to be sure that we got you in on take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Gabriella. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Morning over here.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a dilemma. The last caller kind of helped me out a little bit, but still,
We're having trouble hearing you, Gabriella.
Sorry. I'm discontinuing a friendship. And I've blocked them on my cell. They're not really helpful to me spiritually. They're not bad people. It's just I got an email the other day, and instead of just not responding, I don't know how best to respond in a loving way, to just say, this doesn't really work out, because they're very good at kind of wrapping it around and making it my fault. So I'm not ready right now. That's why I've, discontinued talking to them. But I don't want it to continue, and I want to be a good witness to Christ and just let them off in a very loving way.
Do you want to go first, Jerry?
Well, the thing that comes to my mind is just one word, and that's boundaries. And I don't know if that's prayer. Yeah, we'll pray for that person, Gabriella. But also, I think we have to realize sometimes we think that we cannot put up healthy boundaries in terms of relationships, and keep those relationships that we want, and maybe terminate those that aren't healthy for us, or just simply aren't productive, or just simply not going somewhere. Most of all, are not helping us grow deeper into holiness. And it can be difficult sometimes, Debbie, to maybe discontinue a friendship, a relationship, or something. But sometimes it has to be done, and we just have to have the courage and the conviction to be able to do it.
Right, absolutely. And the other thing, too, is just to take it to prayer, Gabriella, and just let the good Lord lead you, so that you can keep emotion out of it. You can keep just maybe your thoughts out of it, and really do what's best spiritually for them and for you. So we'll be praying for you and around you. So please know that. Feel the power of prayer, Gabriella. And thank you for your call. We appreciate it. Jerry, tomorrow is a show that you thought of, and I'm loving it.
Well, I want to mention first to Samuel in London, who emailed us at take2@ewtn.com. Samuel, we will answer your email via email, and there are some others there that I wish we had time to get to. But yeah, tomorrow I got inspired to ask you, and Debbie and I will do this. Do you have a go-to motivational maxim? A maxim, that's a short little pithy statement. You've heard a lot of them. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. I found a couple online that I love, Debbie. Beauty begins the moment you decide to be yourself.
Oh, I like
Another one, here's one that fits the theme of our show. Don't downgrade your dream just to fit your reality. Upgrade your conviction to match your destiny.
Wow.
So these
I
maxims, folks, they're all over the internet.
Powerful.
So here's your assignment for tonight. Go online, find a motivational maxim that really fits your personality, your passion, your purpose in life, and we want you to share that and inspire all of us tomorrow.
Can become your own tagline, your own personal tagline. I love that, Jerry. I can't wait for tomorrow's show. So we're going to need your participation. So please, if you want to call in early. We don't want to leave you on the line. So until tomorrow, go to jerryanddebbie.com, check out the agenda, and we can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.